I woke up to darkness so thick it felt alive, like it pressed a cold palm over my mouth, trying to silence even my breath. For several seconds, I couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed. My body felt glued to the ground, the icy concrete leaching the last warmth from my bones. Then the realization slowly crawled back into my memory like a nightmare you try to forget. I was still in the basement. And it had been 5 days. My stomach twisted violently, not just from hunger, but from a strange mixture of panic and disbelief. 5 days without a single proper meal. Only water splashed from a bottle once, and even that felt like charity from someone who wanted to keep their prisoner alive just long enough. From upstairs, the music boomed again, heavy bass, the kind that shakes the floorboards. The laughter of strangers dripped down like poison. Plates clattered. Glasses clinked. It sounded like a festival. The kind built on someone else's suffering. My daughter-in-law's shrill laugh cut through the noise like a blade. "Oh, come on. More champagne. Tonight we celebrate." I lay there, staring into the empty dark, and my heart twisted painfully. Not because of her words, but because of the silence behind them. My son's silence. He used to be gentle. The kind of boy who held my hand crossing streets. The kind who kissed my forehead goodnight even when he was taller than me. Yet now, he lived upstairs and pretended I didn't exist. Something rolled near my hand, a tiny pebble or scrap of concrete. I realized then how weak I'd become. My fingers trembled just trying to push myself upright. My breath came out in dry rasps like sandpaper scraping inside my chest. My throat felt so tight it hurt to swallow. My limbs shook violently. I could feel my heartbeat everywhere, in my skull, in my ribs, in my empty stomach. Still, I forced myself to crawl. Every movement was agony. My nails dragged across the cold floor, searching for something, anything to lean on. The air smelled of mold and dust. A single cold draft brushed my cheek, reminding me cruelly of the world above where people danced and ate and lived. Then, slam, the basement door cracked open. Light blazed down the staircase like a spotlight, painfully bright after days of darkness. I froze like a hunted animal. Silhouetted in the doorway was my daughter-in-law, her party dress glittering, her hair curled and bouncing, her makeup perfect. She looked like a queen hosting a ball, while I looked like a ghost clinging to life. With a wicked smile, she tossed something down the stairs. It sparkled as it fell, a handful of golden confetti floating gently before landing in front of me like the world's cruelest joke. "Happy 5 days, old lady," she said sweetly. "Don't die yet. I still have plans for you." I opened my mouth to beg, to plead, to ask for my son, but nothing came out. My voice had dried up days ago. She didn't wait for a response anyway. She simply blew an air kiss, laughed, and slammed the door so hard dust rained from the ceiling. Click. The lock turned. The music grew louder. The house vibrated again with footsteps. Dancing, cheering, and I stayed in the darkness. My heartbeat trembling in my ears for the first time. Despair washed over me so completely, I thought the darkness was swallowing me whole. My body sagged, too exhausted to cry. But then, something strange happened. A sudden, unexpected sound echoed behind me. A soft creak. A whisper of movement. Someone was down here with me. At first, fear knotted in my stomach. But slowly, warmth replaced it. Hope, fragile but alive. Because whatever it was, whoever it was the miracle that would help me take revenge. Revenge they never saw coming. For a long time, I lay completely still on the cold basement floor, letting the faint echoes of the upstairs party filter through the wooden beams above me. Laughter, music, the clink of expensive wine glasses. All of it sounded like a celebration of my suffering. My stomach twisted painfully, and my throat burned with thirst. But it wasn't the physical pain that made my body tremble. It was the realization that my own son was willingly letting this happen. Or so I thought that because suddenly, I heard it again, a soft sound. A quiet shuffle. A breath that wasn't mine. That my heart stopped. At first, I feared it was her, the woman who starved me, imprisoned me, and partied as if my torment was entertainment. But no. This sound was hesitant, cautious, almost desperate. Then I smelled something faint but familiar, the scent of my son's cologne. The one he wore since he was 17. The one I bought him every birthday. A shadow knelt beside me. Mom. Mom, it's me. Please open your eyes. His whisper cracked midway, choked with fear and regret. Slowly, I forced my eyelids open. Even in the darkness, I could see the outline of his face, hollow, stressed, guilty. His hands shook as he tried to hold me without hurting me. When he touched my cheek, he froze in horror at how cold my skin was. Oh God. What did she do to you? His voice collapsed into pieces. He reached into his jacket and clicked on a small flashlight. A beam of light burst through the darkness, revealing everything: my sunken cheeks, the bruises forming on my arms from the cold, my cracked lips. For a moment, he couldn't even breathe. His eyes filled with tears. He tried to blink away. Mom. Mom, I swear to you. I didn't know she locked you here. She told me you were staying in your room. She told me you didn't want to be bothered. He swallowed hard, wiping his face with the back of his hand. But I knew something was wrong. You weren't eating. You weren't coming out. You weren't talking. I should have checked. I should have. A loud burst of laughter exploded from upstairs, cutting him off. His wife's voice shrieked drunkenly. Pour more. I want the whole neighborhood to hear this party. My son flinched like the sound physically hit him. He looked like a man whose soul was being squeezed between two lives, one of loyalty, one of guilt. He whispered again, more urgently now. Mom, I've made mistakes. I let her control everything: my money, my decisions, my life. I thought if I kept her happy, things would get better. But I didn't know she would go this far. His voice broke again. I didn't know she would hurt you. I tried to speak, but only a cracked, dry breath escaped. He panicked. Wait, I brought this. He pulled out a small bottle of water from his jacket. His hands shook violently as he unscrewed the cap. He lifted it to my lips, but stopped. It's almost empty, he whispered. I had to sneak it. If she sees I took anything from her fridge, she questioned me. He tilted the bottle slowly. A few drops slid into my mouth. Even that tiny amount felt like heaven. He looked at me with a mix of love and shame. His face twisted in guilt. I should have protected you. You raised me. You stood by me through everything. But I've become a coward living under her rules. He leaned closer until his forehead rested against mine. I'm sorry. Mom, I promise I won't let you die here. Suddenly creak. The doorknob above us jiggled. We both froze. Then her voice. Sharp and suspicious. Why is it so quiet down there? My son clasped his hand over his own mouth to keep from gasping. His entire body went rigid. His flashlight flicked off instantly. We waited. Seconds felt like hours. The door jiggled again. Then again, harder this time. My son's breath hitched. If she walked in and saw him, that would be the end. She would destroy him socially, financially. Legally, she controlled everything in his life. After a tense moment, the footsteps stepped away. The door didn't open. My son exhaled shakily, collapsing onto his hands. He leaned toward me and whispered, I'll come back tonight. When she's drunk enough to pass out. He glanced up the stairs, his eyes filled with determination I hadn't seen in years. At 3 a.m. I'll unlock this door. We'll leave quietly. I'll take you somewhere safe. A hospital first. Then far away from her. I don't care what she threatens me with anymore. Before leaving, he placed the flashlight beside me and slipped it under a loose floorboard so she wouldn't find it. He stood, breath shaky, legs trembling. At the top of the stairs. He paused and whispered without turning around. "Hold on. Mom, please, just a few more hours." The door opened a crack, then shut with barely a sound, and I lay there, staring into the darkness. For the first time in days, my heart felt something warm again, but that warmth faded quickly when I heard it, the sound of breathing from the far corner. Very faint, very still. Not my son's, not mine. Someone had been listening the whole time, and that meant the miracle coming might not be the one I expected. I didn't move for a long time. I didn't even breathe too loudly. The darkness around me felt alive now, not empty, not silent, but crowded with a presence I couldn't name. The soft breathing from the corner was steady, controlled, almost practiced. Whoever it was, they weren't afraid. They were waiting. And that terrified me more than any hunger or cold ever could. I turned gently toward the sound, my body aching, my mind desperate to understand who else could be in this basement. The flashlight under the floorboard cast a faint, buried glow, just enough for my eyes to adjust. At first, I saw nothing but shadows layered on top of shadows. Then slowly, I saw a figure sitting on the far side of the room. Knees pulled to their chest, face turned slightly away. A whisper floated through the darkness. "Don't be scared." It wasn't my son's voice. It wasn't my daughter-in-law's. It sounded softer, younger, fragile. For a moment, I didn't trust my own senses. Starvation does strange things. It blurs reality. But when the figure shifted slightly, the dim light revealed a thin outline, a small frame, trembling hands, long hair falling over their shoulders. I swallowed hard, the movement painful. My voice emerged as nothing more than a rasp. Who are you?" The figure hesitated, then whispered, "I'm her sister." My blood ran cold. Her sister. The sister of the woman who starved me, imprisoned me, partied above me while I suffered. "I'm not like her," the girl said quickly, as if she needed me to believe it before she even explained anything. "I'm not. I've been living down here for weeks. Maybe more. I lost track. She took my phone. She took everything." She hugged her knees tighter, her face barely visible. "She did this to me too." Those words felt like a knife twisting in my gut. "Why?" I managed to whisper. Her voice trembled. "Because I wanted to leave. Because I told her she was hurting people. Because I told her what she was doing to you was cruel. And when I threatened to tell your son the truth, she told me if I opened my mouth, she would bury me down here forever." My heart pounded painfully. So my daughter-in-law wasn't just cruel, she was dangerous, manipulative, violent. She didn't just control my son. She controlled her own family through fear. The young woman wiped her face. "She hates your son. She hates how much he loves you. She hates that he still asks for your advice. She wants him isolated, so she can take everything he has. All his money, all his properties, everything." She looked at me, then really looked, and her voice broke. "And you're the last thing in her way." Suddenly, everything clicked. The control, the manipulation, the secrecy, the isolation. My imprisonment wasn't an accident. It was a step, a strategy, a method to push my son into complete dependence on her. Felt anger rising from a place deeper than hunger or exhaustion, a quiet fire that had been forced to stay silent for too long. "She won't stop," the girl whispered. "And your son, he's losing himself. He doesn't even know half of what she's planning." I forced myself upright, despite the agony tearing through my body. "What is she planning?" The young woman's hands shook. "She wants him to sign everything over to her. Your house, his business, his assets, the accounts you helped him build, everything. She's been poisoning his mind slowly, making him think he's useless without her." She sucked in a slow breath. "And tomorrow, she's making him sign the final document. A chill slid down my spine. Tomorrow, while I was dying in a basement, while she hosted parties and laughed upstairs, she was preparing to strip my son of everything he had left. The young woman moved closer, crawling weakly across the floor until she sat a few feet away. Your son coming down tonight. That's the first time he fought her control. She doesn't know yet. If she finds out, she didn't finish. She didn't need to. I closed my eyes, forcing my mind to stay sharp, to stay alive. Why tell me this now? Her voice softened, because I heard him. I heard the way he spoke to you. The way he cried. He still loves you. There's still something in him she hasn't destroyed. She brushed her hair from her face. And because I don't want to die down here. And I don't want you to either. We sat in silence as the party upstairs grew louder, music blasting, heels stomping, laughter echoing. The sound of freedom right above our prison. Then something strange happened. The upstairs lights flickered, once, twice. The young woman looked up sharply. That's the breaker, she whispered. It happens when she uses too many appliances at once. Like the smoke machine she likes to show off. Her voice turned urgent. This is your chance. The cameras upstairs reset when the power flickers. For a few seconds, they go completely blind. Power, cameras, a moment of weakness in her fortress. A miracle. The faint light under the floorboard glowed just enough for me to see the truth in the girl's face. She wasn't lying. She was terrified. And she was right. I tried to stand, but my legs buckled. She grabbed my arm, helping me sit back against the wall. You can't walk yet, she said softly. But you don't need to. He's coming at 3 a.m. You just need to hold on. She reached under her shirt and pulled out a small metal object. A key. My eyes widened. I stole it weeks ago, she whispered. It's the backup key to the basement. I never used it because I knew she'd hear the door. But tonight, with the cameras down, with the party loud, with her drunk, she placed the key in my trembling hand. You get out. And when you get out, don't just run. Her eyes hardened, something fierce buried behind the fear. Destroy her. My breath steadied. For the first time in days, I felt purpose clear, sharp, burning through every vein. A miracle didn't have to be magic. Sometimes it was a key. Sometimes it was a broken girl in a dark basement. Sometimes it was truth. The party upstairs roared on. The stairs creaked faintly. The young woman looked at me with a warning in her eyes. Your son will come. But she might check on you first. She leaned closer. Be ready. I wrapped my fingers around the key. Cold metal. Cold intentions. Cold revenge forming in my chest. And in the darkness, I made myself a promise. Tonight, everything she built on cruelty would fall. The key pressed against my palm felt heavier than any object I had ever held. Hours of fear, hunger, and despair seemed to have solidified into cold, unrelenting weight. Upstairs, the party continued as if mocking our suffering, laughter echoing, glasses clinking, music thumping. Every sound made my heart leap violently. I swallowed hard, forcing my body to move despite the numbness that had taken over from days without food. The basement girl guided me step by step, her small hands steadying my trembling arms. Her eyes darted nervously to the stairwell, wide and terrified, yet filled with a rare spark of courage. I gritted my teeth and rose, each movement sending a sharp pain through my bones, but I refused to let weakness stop me. The moment the basement door creaked open, a sliver of light cut across the darkness like a knife. I squinted into the hallway and saw my son crouch low, flashlight in hand, face tense, sweat glistening on his brow. He didn't speak, he didn't need to. His eyes alone carried years of guilt, love, and determination. For a heartbeat, I thought I might collapse from emotion alone. But there was no time. Not now. The life that had been stolen from us demanded action. We ascended the stairs slowly, every step measured. I could hear the daughter-in-law's heels clatter faintly on the polished floor as she moved from one room to another, drunk and oblivious. The music above faded briefly as if pausing, giving us the tiniest window. My son opened the garage's hidden door, the same door she never remembered existed. I felt the cold night air rush over my face for the first time in what felt like an eternity. It was sharp, sweet, real freedom. We didn't speak. Words were unnecessary. The garage's concrete walls felt like the last barrier between us and a life she thought she had conquered. The basement girl whispered, "Go before she comes back." I nodded, gripping the wheel she handed me. My son handed over a folder full of documents, bank papers, property deeds, proof of manipulation. I clutched it to my chest as if it were armor. We drove into the night, leaving the neon glow of the house behind. Behind us, the daughter-in-law screamed, her voice raw with fury. She pounded on the garage door, but we didn't look back. Her figure grew smaller in the rearview mirror, and her power diminished with every mile we put between us. The quiet night became our shield. Our breaths were ragged, our hands trembling, but for the first time, there was hope. By dawn, we had reached a safe location. My son and I sat together, the documents spread before us, evidence of her schemes laid bare. The girl had already shared the recordings, the proof of her cruelty, and the lies she had spun for months. My son's hands shook as he filed complaints, notified authorities, froze accounts, and reclaimed control over the life she had tried to steal. With every click, every signature, the web of her manipulation unraveled. When the final step was complete, she was left isolated, humiliated, and powerless. The party woman who had mocked our pain, who had reveled in my suffering, now faced the consequence of her own actions. Social circles turned away from her, financial institutions locked her out, and the truth became a public record. Justice wasn't instantaneous, but it was absolute. My son sank beside me, tears streaming down his face. "I don't deserve forgiveness," he whispered, voice broken. I reached out, cupping his face gently, feeling the warmth of the man he had become. "You do," I said softly, "because you came for me." For a long time, we sat in silence, listening to the distant hum of the city waking up around us. I reflected on the journey, the despair, the fear, the manipulation, the helplessness, but also the courage, love, and resilience that had carried us through. A miracle had happened, not in the form of luck or magic, but in the form of bravery, truth, and unbreakable family bonds. The girl beside us, once frightened and small, now stood tall, eyes glistening with hope. She had survived, just as we had. And together, we had rewritten the ending, proving that even the darkest manipulation and cruelty could be undone. And in that quiet, victorious morning, I finally understood. Power built on fear always crumbles. Love, truth, and courage endure. We had survived. We had fought. And we had won.